That sounds good to me. So in terms of, the sales application, this does tie in to the CRM as well, and we could also go a little bit into that. I will say before I jump into the app, all of these applications here are integrated together, because they sit on the Odoo database. So they're all accessing the same data within this database, just in different ways, right? Of course, the sales application accesses that data differently than the inventory. It's pulling different information. So, just keep that in mind as we go through this, and you will see some good examples of information flowing from application to application without any sort of import export. So, but yes,
You
let's jump
know,
into sales.
if I may,
Hmm.
I wish the language was more consistent in this area with inventory software and business software. You use the word integration and integrated, and I just want to clarify because that word might mean different things to different people. Um, from my perspective, I would not say that these apps are integrated. I would say they're all one program. There's no integration required, no plug-in or anything. They're just all they're just menu options, you know. It's just the way it's designed and configured. I think the probably the biggest point I want to focus on what Matthew said is it's all one database, right? When I think of integration, I think of two separate databases and API code that are bridging between them. That's not what's going on here. This is all one database, all different modules accessing. It's just kind of a different design. Would you agree, Matthew?
No, I think that's a fair point. The
Okay.
language, yeah, it is one database. These applications are all in the database. There's no sort of API integration to do with these.
Right, right. Cool.
Right.
So here's a list of sales orders.
Yes, so this is the home screen of if you were to just jump into the sales application and see this. Of course, there's a lot going on, so let me kind of walk you through it here. Um, if I go into here, so I can see this menu, we have orders, so I can see quotations, actual sales orders, sales teams, and customers here in this tab. So we're actually in the quotations part, but if I were to go to orders, we would see, it changes here to invoice rather than back to quotations to sales order, the status, right? So if I jump into one of these, we're going to be able to see a bunch of information here. So first off, we have the customer. And something interesting that I'd like to point out that I kind of talked about with the database and the sharing of information. If I go here and click on this Deco Addict customer, it's going to take me to their contact card. So this is technically, on the main Odoo home screen. It's a different application, right? The contacts, but it functions, right in tandem with this sales app, right? And we can see all of this information here, and it's pulling the address from this contact card, and I can go back using this little breadcrumb right here to the sales order right there, right? As well as the invoice address, delivery address, and the email. We can see here we have the order lines, which is basically the products that are being put into here into the sales order, and we can also create one so you can see how it's built. But we can also see order date, the price list, and payment terms. So the price list here is interesting. That's how you're actually going to be able to set prices for different customers if you'd like to do so, or for different time periods. When I create a new quotation, which I will do, actually, let's go into here and press new. If I wanted to select a price list, we can see there's actually an option for Christmas, and that's basically just to show you that you can have different price lists for set time periods. Like if you have a general store-wide Christmas discount, for example, and you wanted to implement something like that automatically, you'd be able to do so through that price list. So that's something
Nice.
I think is pretty neat there, but we'll stick with Benelux. Customer, I'll add Deco Attic again and see that information pulled, which is very nice. And then products. So adding a product, we have all of these products. If I press here and take a look into search more, we can see a full list of our products. Of course, we can just type in, if I wanted to do table, right? Pretty simple. I can also create products on the fly if it was necessary to do so. So if I just put test in here and wanted to create that on the fly, I could, create a product just like that. And if I went into here to view the product I created, of course, there's not going to be any information but we can see that this did create it within the system, which is pretty neat. Again, this is a very flexible tool. It's meant to be lightweight and you're able to use it on the go, right? So if I want to as well over here, we can change
Before
the
you go
quantity.
further, I
Hmm.
had a question on creating a product.
Yes,
Um, can you set user rights for so sales reps cannot create a product?
you could within the system. That might require a little bit of configuration, of course, but setting user rights is definitely possible. We also didn't touch on this earlier, but you can set user rights to different applications within the system, like how you were talking about how that big screen of applications could be a little bit overwhelming. You could set it so your sales reps, for example, only have access to the CRM and the sales versus
Okay.
another team would have access to inventory, right?
And you use the word configuration. To me, that
Mhm.
means no coding required, no customization. If we're configuring it, then that means the options are already available for us to check the box or uncheck the box. Is that right?
Generally speaking, yes. When it comes to user access rights, that can get a little bit more complicated just based on how the client would like to set that up. Um,
Right.
we do have the low code customization or no code customization through Studio, which we can also jump into at a later point. I don't want to get ahead of myself here, but
Yeah, no, that's all right. Um, so one thing that kind of threw me off at first when I was first becoming familiar with Odoo is just the design. You notice that we've got quote, quotation, sent, and sales order. As we progress through that, at the top left-hand corner is sort of our breadcrumb trail, not really breadcrumb trail, it's sort of where we came from to get to this screen.
mhm.
So Matthew, he's an expert in Odoo, and so he can navigate super quick. When I first started out, it was kind of clunky, but I did get used to it. So um, don't judge a software by the way it looks at first. I see it's like moving to a new city where where it has a library and a church and a school and a grocery store and a gas station and a post office. Um, just have to get used to where to click and where to go to find the things that you're looking for. Now on the right hand side, this is one thing that drew me to Odoo is its intense breadcrumb trail. Talking about breadcrumb trails, this is more of an audit trail as well, and ties into to CRM and internal communication with your company, um, and kind of ties into the CRM. I think Odoo has a super robust uh, CRM functionality and feature, which, like I say, is good for you wholesale distributors who are making large orders or fulfilling large orders and may need to track the order or the estimate through to the conversion of it into an order. Now, if a customer wanted to pay on this, how do we receive a payment?
That's a great question. So first off, we need to send over this quotation, right? So they receive it. So let me just get rid of this test product here. And also, I just wanted to show if I wanted to change this unit price, I'm going to sell 5 of these actually instead of one. And we'll see why in a second. But if I wanted to change this unit price here, I can do that on the fly. And again, we kind of talked about permissions, and you might not want your sales reps to be able to change the unit price like that. So that would be something to talk with an implementation expert about in terms of setting the system up that way. Discounts are also available here, but for now, let's just leave this as it is. We can see here, right, traceability. We can see I actually changed the price there. So you can see, that that was done. And I'm on the Mitchell admin account, so we can see who did it as well. So I'm going to go ahead and send this by email to Deco Addict and just give that a second. So we can see here we have this quotation. There's a little preview there. Of course, you can change this. We also have an XML code editor as well if you want to get really deep into the documents that you'd be sending back and forth. So again, everything is customizable. Let's go ahead and press continue. And we'll see a little email pop up. Once again, you can change the wording here if you would like to, either manually or just change the template itself. But I'm going to go ahead and send this quotation. And we're going to see something neat here in the chatter, which is what we call this little area to the right here. We can see that I sent this email from the system. Of course, it's red because we're in a demo database, but in reality, you'd be sending this email from the system rather than having to copy this and then go into Gmail or Outlook and then send it from there, which is a nice feature. And then what's really neat is if the customer were to respond to this email, it would actually also show up here. So again, you have a full record here of all the communications based on the sales order. And we can also see that this quotation was moved into the quotation sent stage. So it's no longer just a quote, right? The quotation has been sent, and the customer can either view this PDF, right? Or they can go into the portal, which I think is what Lance was getting at here. So Lance, I'm going to press preview here so just so we can see what the customer would see.
Yeah, you're actually showing me something better than I expected. I was expecting you to just go to a payment button and click it and put in their credit card number or record that you received a check, which I know no one writes checks anymore. But
Mm.
I was actually thinking this. You kind of read my mind. I was going to ask, hey, can we send them an email with
Mm-hmm.
a payment link? Is that what you're about to show us?
Exactly. Yes. So
Very nice.
technically, we've just jumped into a new application within Odoo, right? We're now on the website, and you can actually see up here it says website
Oh,
now,
interesting.
even though
Yeah.
we came from the sales order. And we can see
Yeah.
this is a preview of the customer portal. So this is what a customer would be able to log in and see. And this wouldn't necessarily make them a user in the backend, right? They have no access to your system's backend, but they do have this front-facing view from the website that they're able to access. So here we can see the quotation was sent, and we have this option to sign and pay here. So we have the contact here as well. I could send a message directly to Mitchell admin, which would be me if this was the customer. There's a communication history here as well. It doesn't show internal communication, but all external communication. Um, Everything looks good to me. So I'm going to sign and pay by clicking this purple button here. We can see here we have our own signing feature, right? So I could draw if I wanted to, um, or auto, or even load a signature. We can see some payment terms here, basically all the information that would be necessary before accepting and signing. So after signing it, what I've done is accepted it, and now it's time to validate the order. Again, we're in a demo environment, so we don't have Stripe set up for this, but this is a good view of what it would look like when if Stripe were to be configured. I think what we can do is jump into payment providers and enable the demo, but this is a good list of all of our different payment providers that we work with here at Odoo, right? Just for your reference, this is how you
Very
would be able to.
nice. Yeah,
Mhm.
there's a lot there. If you can't find what you're looking for, I don't know what to tell you. Yeah,
Mm.
But
that's
I will
great.
install demo just for the rest of this so we have that handy. Awesome, and that put me into the accounting application, just going through the settings, right? So you can see we're kind of jumping from application to application very quickly here, so I just want to pause, but in taking these different actions, we're still within the same system, but doing very different things in terms of functionality.
And I think it'd be nice to see your shopping cart platform.
Hmm.
I swear almost everyone uses Shopify these days, and I know you have a shopping cart that, would you say it rivals Shopify? What,
Hey, Shopify does e-commerce great. I'd say that Odoo definitely has put something out there that has the necessary functionality to rival, any major e-commerce platform. And I'd say that the really big benefit of our e-commerce platform is it's connected to everything else you have in the system, connected to inventory, connected to, shipping and receiving, connected to accounting, right? Which I
yeah,
think is pretty neat. But here's a quick
you know,
look here.
the
Yeah.
that reminds me of some people who asked me, especially you mentioned the holidays when you were talking about pricing and Christmas, and reminded me how important it is to have up-to-date information on the shopping cart. Uh, because if you don't, people can get very angry. And the fact that it's all just one module and Odoo is in the cloud and there's no integration to your shopping cart, it's just all one database. There is no updating, there is no lag. As soon as someone says they want it, it's immediately allocated. And so, in that sense, that's a pretty argument for Odoo if you're trying to compare the Odoo shopping cart and Shopify. But like you say, I don't know. Shopify might have more bells and whistles. Who knows? But And I think it's worth, looking at and considering and comparing for sure.
Absolutely. And this is what it would look like. Again, we're on the customer view here, and I could give you a peek into the back end so you could see how these products are configured and put into the e-commerce platform. But here we have, again, kind of a lot here going on, but we have these categories up here, right? We are a furniture store in this example, so we have desks, furniture, right? And I can click these chairs, couches, sofas. We can see some kind of subcategories going on here, right? So I started from products, went to furniture, so I'm on couches, sofas, right? Again, nothing in that category, but we can go back here
We
to
don't have to
product.
go in too
Hmm.
deep on this. We've got a lot to cover.